Yo, what's good, everybody? My name is Cosmic, and I want to welcome you to my channel, Opinion Stated, where I give unfiltered, opinionated sports takes. Let's go. Yo, what's good, everybody? My name is Cosmic. I want to welcome you back to my channel, Opinion Stated, and I've got a good one planned for you today. If you've been paying attention to recent episodes, you know what I mean? I've been keeping us abreast of what's happening here in the 2025 NBA playoffs. Really exciting, basketball being played, especially through and up to the second round. At last, we left you guys. I kind of gave you what was taking place or what had taken place up to Thursday in the association. And there was only one televised game, that being on Thursday, that is, and that being the Golden State Warriors and the Minnesota Timberwolves, who were squaring off in game 2. And so we're going to pick up right where we left off, bringing us into just a bit of a recap of, what took place in all of the games from Thursday, Friday, Saturday till Sunday. I'll dig into the box scores a little, only for the games that took place through the weekend. We'll just kind of recap. But before we dive into this content, do me a huge favor, man. Like this video. Liking the video helps us cruise along Algorithm Avenue. Helps us get into the presence of individuals like yourself who might be looking for this kind of content. Also, subscribe to the channel. Subscribing to the channel keeps you, and clicking that notification bell obviously keeps you in the loop as to when the latest episodes are uploaded. Man, I'm excited about this episode, so let's dive right in. I am entitling today's episodes NBA Playoff Second Round, Win or Else. So, again, man, this playoff season or this year's playoffs have been incredible to watch. Really, really competitive, predictable in a lot of ways. In a lot of ways, I feel like this past weekend's results were predictable. I just, obviously, the hope was that they played out the way that they played out. If you're fans of any of the teams that played, especially those teams that were behind severely in these matchups, but it certainly played out in predictable fashion, which we'll dive into here. But let's first take a look at, a game 3 situation. Last I left you, Boston was getting the stuffing beat out of them. They were down in a 2-0 hole. We were talking about them shooting 25 of 100, so 25% from 3 over the first 2 games that were played in Boston that New York stole. We were just talking about how abysmal it was to just watch them continue to shoot. They got up 63s in the first game, shot 15 of 60, and then they shot another 10, or no, they shot another 43s in the second game, obviously. So they shot 10 of 40. You know what I mean? So they shoot 25%, 25% in both games, man, and then ultimately, 25% throughout the first 2 games. And I, when we last spoke about them, I talked about them as just the episode itself as panic mode, for Boston. Boston could ill afford, if there was ever a game where there was a must win, kind of a situation, it was in this New York and Boston series. And so Boston could ill afford to fall behind 3-0. And certainly they'd, show up in Saturday's contest at Madison Square Garden. And, the score is not even really indicative of what happened in the game. They came out, jumped on the Knicks early, and took that crowd completely out of the game, took the Knicks completely out of the game, just beat the shit out of them, basically. You don't expect, obviously, Boston is a very high volume shooting 3-point team. You don't expect them to just, team's not just going to miss every game. One would hope not, right? But realistically, when you shoot at such a high clip, at some point you'll have some good games. And if you watched actual NBA basketball this season, you would have saw consistently, there was just more often than not, I guess I'll say, Boston would hit a high volume of threes versus having games where they missed a whole bunch of them, right? To their detriment. And so, just based on that, you could surmise that they would eventually, get some shots to fall. And certainly in this game they did. Let's dig a little bit into the box score. For the Knicks, first of all, the Knicks scored 93 points in the game on 40% shooting from the field. A pathetic A fucking pathetic 20% from three, 5 of 25, 5 of 25. They switched roles with Boston in this game and actually shot 5 percentage points worse than Boston had shot in the previous two games. But 40% from the field overall, man, 32 of 80 shooting. It was horrible. You know what I mean? Like that 40%. I mean, the Knicks just look. I don't know, man. They look like they didn't even come out of the tunnel. You know what I'm saying? It was a really interesting game. But 93 points they scored in the game, 43 rebounds pulled down, 16 assists dished out. Mikal Bridges just 12 points in the game on 6 of 10 shooting from the field. 2 points from OG Anunoby. OG Anunoby had been stellar and lights out through those first two games. In fact, in one of those games, he had 29 points, right? Or 30 points. He tied Brunson for most points, kind of for the team in one of those games. So I expected a much better game from him. Only 1 of 6 from the field, 2 points. He just kind of faded to black, and maybe that's not necessarily just because he faded to black. It's because Tatum was on his shit in this game, so it made his defensive role a much more of an emphasis for him, which took him out of his offensive rhythm. I don't know, bro, but it just didn't look good. Karl Anthony Towns had 21 points in the game, 15 rebounds. Cat played decent, 5 of 18 from the field though. Like holy shit. In 36 minutes played, 9 of 21 from the field for Brunson. Brunson really had an off game. 27 points though, 4 rebounds and 7 assists. If you just looked at the stats, you say off game. How? Yeah, 27 points, but yeah, it's how the 27 came throughout the game. We just wasn't really. I mean, it didn't really matter because Boston was just on their fucking head the whole game, regardless. Josh Hart just chipped in 10 points. Not a good game for Josh Hart. 6 rebounds and 3 assists in the game for him, and the rest of it was just bullshit. So, the Knicks. I expected the Knicks to fight a little bit more in the game, but I also didn't expect the Boston Celtics to shoot 50% from three. You know what I mean? Not 50% from three. I expected that they would make more threes at some point, but 50% from three. They knocked down 20 of 40 3-point shots, but they're still shooting a super high volume of shots. They matched the 40 output that they shot in game two, in game three. So they want to get up somewhere, it seems like between 40 and 63s a game, or they don't mind. You know what I mean? Getting up at least 40. So they want to get up 40 plus based on the stats from the last 3 games. If we could look at them that way. So 115 total points scored in the game on 48.2% shooting from the field. They'd hit 40 of 83 overall shots to get to that 48.2%. 42 rebounds they snagged and dished out 23 assists. Like I said, I think there was like 17 assists that they had dished out in the last game, and I was like, I mean, conceivably, if some of those more of those threes fall, then that obviously could take the assist total up if they're not like ISO dribble step back threes or what have you. But mostly if you're just swinging the ball around the horn, you know what I mean, and the three falls or the jump shot falls when the ball is passed to the player without 2 dribbles, then you know what I mean. Like an assist can be tallied. So a much better game, much better showing from Boston. Boston stepped up. They showed heart. They showed grit. They showed really that they weren't rattled from the first 2 games, and that was really good to see. But it stands to reason, or remains to be seen, I'll say, if they'll be able to keep this going. But just focus on this game. Jason Tatum, 22 points in the game, 8 of 20 from shooting, 5 of 9 from 3, 9 rebounds, 7 assists. Decent game from Jason Tatum. He didn't have to be Superman, in the game. He played his role to a T. Al Horford had a huge game though, 6 of 9 shooting from the field, 3 of 4 from 3, 9 rebounds, 1 assist in the game for Al. Drew Holiday, 8 points in the game, 2 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 of 4 shooting, 2 of 3. Drew settled into a role. I would actually like to see a little bit more from Drew Holiday. Like I feel like Drew Holiday has so much more to give Boston. It's cool that he just kind of picks his spots and scores if they need him to, where they need him to, when they need him to, for the most part. But I would like to see Drew have more of an active role in, especially on the offensive side, because man, Drew's talent. He's a gifted basketball player, so I would like to actually see him contribute more. I think that might help, a better offensive flow for Boston. if Drew's kind of looking for his shot more often than not, and defenses just can't be like, oh, that's Drew Holiday. Like he's really not going to shoot, you know. So I think they should incorporate him a little bit more. Derek White, 17 points in the game, 6 of 10 from the field overall, 3 of 6 from three, 5 rebounds, 2 assists in the game for him. And Jaylen Brown on 7 of 18, shooting from the field, had 19 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists. 23 points off the bench for Peyton Pritchard, man, 8 of 16 from the field. So he shot 50% from the field overall, 5 of 10 from 3, shot 50% from 3 as well. 4 rebounds, 2 assists in the game. Really solid game, like I said, from the Celtics, and the bounce back game that was expected, right? I think that was the bounce back game that could be expected. It's like, come on, bro, they're not going to keep shooting bad. Fall into a 3-0 hole means that the series is over, essentially. And so it was panic mode for them. They had to like come out and play their best basketball. They saved their best basketball for that particular game. So shout out to Boston. Boston is now trailing 2-1 in that best of 7. Next up, as a bit of a recap, I last left you, like I said, on Thursday, early Friday morning, talking about or Thursday it was, speaking about the Golden State Minnesota Timberwolves game that will be taking place and the Wednesday results. And so on Thursday night, no Steph Curry in that game, who pulled up lame in the first game that the Warriors were still able to defeat the Minnesota Timberwolves in. No Steph, big problem for the Warriors. As you'll see, Minnesota took them down 117-93. Handling the boys, handedly, 24 points in that game. It was all Minnesota. You know what I mean? Like literally, it was all Minnesota in that game, and bringing us to the game on Saturday, game 2 of the doubleheader on Saturday, and a much better basketball game for overall for both teams, rather, from a competitive standpoint. I'm speaking of a 102-97 victory for Minnesota. Minnesota didn't play exceptionally well in this game. In that game, certainly Golden State shot terribly in the first half, especially. They didn't even hit a 3 at all in the first half. They had like 41 points or something crazy. It was ridiculous. I was like, man, where is Golden State? Or they didn't have 41 points. I'm thinking about a previous game, but it just wasn't a good offensive showing for Golden State at all in that game. But let's take a look at the stats. 97 total points for Golden State in Saturday's loss. 43.2% shooting from the field. So they shot 35 of 81 overall. 43.5% from 3. They shot 10 of 23 from 3-point range. And again, as I stated, on 10 of 23, they literally went over in the first half. They did not hit a single 3-pointer in the first half. Which clearly could speak to, why they lost the game. They just get a couple more to fall. You know what I mean? Like it's not a 5-point loss, but instead, just 2 to fall from the first half, or 2 more to fall from the second half. However the ball bounces, it wasn't going through the hoop for Golden State in that game. 36 rebounds they pulled out, dished out 21 assists. Jimmy Butler, man, he did everything that he could possibly do. He did exactly what we expected him to do, what I expected him to do. I expected him to come out and have a great game because Steph wasn't going to be playing. The thing that made it fucked up was, Jimmy was now put in the same position that Steph was in, having to carry the full offensive load prior to Jimmy joining the Golden State Warriors. So without Steph, huge problem, man, because now Jimmy becomes the focal point, solely the focal point of the offense. And man, unless he pulls a Wilt Chamberlain, and everybody else is contributing because they're hitting what few shots effectively that they're getting, Jimmy can't carry the team by itself, man. It's just not possible. But 33 points in the game for Jimmy on 12 of 26 shooting from the field. Jimmy shot 26 shots in this game. 2 of 4 from 3, 7 rebounds, 7 assists. Like I said, man, he did everything that he could possibly do, to try to help his team win the game, but ultimately they wouldn't. 14 points in the game for Buddy Hield. Buddy had a solid game. I think he was scoreless in the first half also, but he shot 5 of 11 ultimately from the field, 4 of 8 from three, 4 rebounds, and 5 assists. So they definitely needed a huge game from Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield and Jimmy, in fact, were the only two starters in double figures, and just two of the three players from the Golden State Warriors to even be in double figures in this game. Trace Jackson Davis would see himself as a starter in this game. 7 points for Trace. Just 2 points from Draymond, who fouled out. 2 points, 2 rebounds, 4 assists. In that last game, game two, or game one, it was game one. Game one, Draymond came out like shooting the lights out from three. You know what I'm saying? He was just, man, he was shooting lights out from three. And he would ultimately shoot 10 threes. I remember highlighting in that game, like Draymond Green shot the most threes in that game. He only shot 1 3 in this game. And it's not that I'm saying he should have taken 9 more threes in this game, but goddamn, Draymond, they need something from you, bro. Only 1 of 4 shooting from the field. He shot 4 shots in the whole game. You know what I mean? He only played 29 minutes. Like I said, he fouled out. So it is what it is. But finishing out the starter lineup, 1 of 10 shooting from the field for Brandon Podziemski, man, BPA, they needed more out of Podziemski, and he played terribly. You know what I mean? In this game, he just didn't have it going. 1 of 10 from three. I'm sorry, 1 of 10 from the field, 1 of 4 from three. He did snag 8 rebounds to lead the team in rebounding for the game. So a great rebounding guard, but just 2 assists, man. 5 points is not enough. They needed a much more of a punch from Brandon on or in that game. They're certainly going to need more from him if Steph's going to be out. Jonathan Kuminga, the Jonathan Kuminga that Steve Kerr's been ignoring, fucking with his head, not allowing him to play in the first round through the latter parts of the season. I don't know if he's trying to, and I know coaches will sometimes do this silly shit. I had coaches that will do it also, that just kind of fuck with players a little bit, thinking that you're going to be able to motivate them by shafting them, and it's really weird, bro. Not everybody responds to that kind of a thing, but certainly it was reported that Jonathan Kuminga, even after not playing in some of those games that he probably should have played in, that Steve Kerr didn't like refusing to play him in, that Jonathan didn't get in his feelings about it. He actually would stick around after the games and get some shots up because he has so much energy to burn off, because he was ready to play, like fit, healthy, ready to play in games that he wasn't playing in. So he just, stick around and kind of shoot and get his shots up anyway, in preparation for moments like the previous game where he dropped 30 points. So shout out to Jonathan Kuminga on 11 of 18 shooting, 3 of 4 from three, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. He certainly showed up to help Jimmy, but they got no help from anybody else. And so it was just the Jimmy and Kuminga show. And as I was saying in the previous episode, like, I'm high on Jonathan Kuminga. He's a very gifted basketball player. And he proved it. So I was like, yeah, like I just said that in the previous episode. The dude is really good. I mean, he's a really good basketball player. And so I hope that he'll be able to continue to do this, and they can get some help from Podziemski and some of the others in the next game to help the cause of the Golden State Warriors. But man, without Steph, again, like I said, man, they're in trouble. If you remember through the season, just as I'm giving Jonathan Kuminga his props, there was a game, I can't remember who they were playing exactly, but there was a game where Jonathan Kuminga, it was like the Jonathan Kuminga game. I want to say it was against like Houston, or maybe it was against, you know what I mean, like maybe Minnesota or somebody. But it was a decent team that Jonathan Kuminga stepped up. No Steph Curry in the lineup. This is before Jimmy got there also, where Jonathan Kuminga came in and carried the team to victory. So hit a lot of big shots. I'm speaking in the regular season. So he certainly has a propensity to be, the kind of player that could help to move the needle for Golden State, even when Steph is in the lineup, or certainly, to be of service or serviceable when Steph is out of the lineup. So hopefully he keeps this going as momentum, and we see Jonathan Kuminga continue to have a good showing here in the playoffs. Enough about the Golden State Warriors. Let's talk about the Minnesota Timberwolves, who won the game. They put up 102 total points on 43.9% shooting from the field. They knocked in 36 of 82 total shots. They shot 38.2% from three. So they knocked down just 13 of 34. So as you can see, they didn't even shoot the lights out. They didn't have a stellar game shooting from the field, but they would snag 44 rebounds, dish out 28 assists. They were sharing the basketball. You know what I mean? But it was, a decent game, I want to say, from Anthony Edwards. The 36 points, one could look at the box score and say, fuck you mean he had 36 points? Well, we mean he had a decent game. he had a decent second half. He had an incredible second half of the game. But yeah, he shot 13 of 28 from the field, 5 of 14 from three, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. Um, I just feel like for as gifted as Ant is, man, he can get his shot anytime he wants it, and he should be doing that. He is still relying too much on threes when his game is not going, and I just wish he would get to the basket without complaining, without appearing to be like a Luka Doncic who's complaining about every single thing that he perceives to be a foul instead of just finishing strong at the rim. And you know what I mean, getting back down court, not complaining to the refs and keeping his head in the game. But he played a decent basketball game. The 24 points I feel like from Julius Randle on 10 of 23 shooting from the field. Damn, Julius Randle shot 23 shots, also 1 of 6 from three. But the 24 points from Julius Randle were much more meaningful. A triple double, in fact, for Julius Randle in this game. 24 points, 10 rebounds, 12 assists, um, 15 points from Jay McDaniels, 15 points, 6 rebounds, and 1 assist on 4 of 7 shooting from the field, 3 of 4 from three. Back to Julius Randle though. Julius Randle, man. Julius Randle is playing in this playoffs like a grown up, like a grown ass man, bro. And I could appreciate it. This is the Julius Randle that I was hoping to see this year in New York. You know what I mean? Before they swapped him for Cat. I wish he was still in New York, actually, and it's not because I don't think the Cat is good, but I wish the Cat was still in Minnesota. And I just been flying this flag all season, but I can't help but continue to say that I know it's not going to make it go back to the way that it was, but man, I just wish I could see him playing with the mobs that they were playing with last year. But that notwithstanding, Julius Randle playing like a fucking grown man in Minnesota, and definitely helping to contribute to their success. 9 points off the bench for Naz Reid, man, and that was essentially that in his game. So again, I'm not certain, when Steph will come back. It hasn't been reported yet, but it's saying he'll be reevaluated this week. At the earliest, if he does return, they say it's what the insiders are saying that it would be Game 6. You know what I mean? That he will return, but I mean, based on how things are going, this present series is now a 2-1 Minnesota series lead. I don't think they're going to make it to 6. You know what I'm saying? So, man, hopefully they get Steph back in the lineup sometime soon. If not even for anything other than, what I mean, to have him just hit a few shots and kind of be a decoy out there. But I know that Steph's game is so reliant on him being able to run and stay in motion and run off the picks and tire out the defenders and keep the defenders guessing as to like where he is and try to watch their man and where Steph is going. And so with a bum hamstring, it's just going to be impossible for him to do that if he's not healthy. So I think Golden State might be in trouble, man. It sucks, but it is what it is. On to the next game again. As a bit of a recap, the last we heard, it was Game 3 of the Denver and Oklahoma City Thunder series. Game 1 saw Denver steal, the game in Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City came back out like, hold my beer. Game 2 beat the shit out of Denver. In fact, put up 146 or 149 or something like that, I believe. 140 plus points in that game. And then Denver responded clearly in this game, Game 3, which took place on Friday night, 113 to 104, to take a 2-1 lead in that series. It was a really weird game. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander didn't really show up in that game, man, and I get it. You know what I mean? Like, we have this expectation for players all the time that they'll just step up, man, and be this incredible, like superhero every single game. But you know what I mean? Not every game's the same game, but that's okay. Denver in that game, I remember specifically that Nikola Jokic had a bad game. He had a bad showing. It's just like, man, if y'all can't win when Nikola Jokic is out here playing like trash, they might be in trouble. Jalen Williams, Game 3 was the Jalen Williams game. J-Dub had, man, he had like 30, I believe, in that game. So he had a great game, but much to the chagrin of the Oklahoma City Thunder because they still lost the game. Bringing us up to today's game, which took place Sunday. Sunday afternoon, early Sunday afternoon start for this game, and a 92-87 victory for Oklahoma City in this game. Just to be highlighted, there was a point in the fourth quarter where Denver was up by 7. You look up, Denver's up by 7. Oklahoma City began to chip away at the lead. I believe they went on a 9 overrun. And then they knocked down a free throw. It was 10. They knocked down another free throw. It was 11. And then, yeah, you look up and they're up 6, 6 points after being down 7. And I'm like, bro, what happened? It's crazy. It's like Denver just kind of faded to black. Really low scoring game, obviously, in this one. Neither team cracked 100, barely cracking 90. But yeah, not an exceptional game from either team from an offensive standpoint. But we'll take a look at the box score and the stats a little bit closer. 87 points in the game for Denver Nuggets on 31.3% shooting from the field. Horrible. 25 of 80 they shoot from the field. 24.4% from three. The game was so weird that when it started out, it was all OKC, and then never fought to get back in the game. It was still a very low scoring first half, but then the game ultimately turned out to be like a competitive kind of arm wrestling match down the stretch. So it's not like it wasn't worth watching today, but yeah, just a really weird game overall. 15 points in the game for Aaron Gordon. Shout out to Aaron Gordon, man. 5 of 10 shooting from the field for him today. 3 of 7 from three. 16 rebounds and 6 assists. 16 rebounds and 6 assists. I always feel like he should be a much better rebounder than he is. Some games I'm like, man, he's killed a whole bunch of my fucking parlays because he couldn't grab 4 rebounds. I'm like, bro, what the fuck? It's crazy. But 16 rebounds today. But again, I started out to give him his props. Shout out to Aaron Gordon, man, because Aaron's been playing solid. All right, he's been playing solid. He's definitely been earning his chips. So he's just not out there floating around. Michael Porter Jr., I don't know what the fuck he is. Just 3 points in this game. He had a great game last game. 9 rebounds in the game, but man, they need more of a punch. I don't know what's going on with him mentally, psychologically, like whatever, man. I know he's got like a little patch on his shoulder, so but that's when his non-shoot arm. I don't know how much it's affecting his actual play, but if he's hurt, man, get his ass out of there and bring somebody else in that could possibly help. Maybe they have nobody else that could help. I don't know. 27 points in the game for Nikola Jokic on 7 of 22 shooting. So again, not a bad shooting night for him, but not a great shooting night. Overall, 2 of 8 from 3, 13 rebounds in the game, just 3 assists, 17 points in the game apiece for Christian Braun and Jamal Murray. 4 rebounds apiece, 5 assists for Jamal, 2 assists for Christian Braun. Decent games, you know what I mean, from them as well. I can't blame the offensive output on anybody in this game. Like it just was a really, it was just a basketball game. You know what I mean? Like again, you would want every shot to fall for every team or for every player, your favorite players, but that's just not realistic. It just doesn't happen that way. But Denver was definitely in control of the game. It seemed in the third quarter, leading into the fourth quarter, and then they just kind of fizzled out, and that hasn't been the case for them in these playoffs. But they just kind of faded to black, down the stretch, and the result is the result. 92 points in the game for Oklahoma City on 35.6% shooting from the field. They knock in 31 of 87 shots. So again, not a stellar lights out shooting night for them either. You know what I mean? 24.4% shooting from three for them even. You know what I mean? So they hit 10 of 41 threes in the game. So it's not like, any team had the edge. They were both playing a similar game. And I won't say like trash. They were just, let's just say, they were just playing tough defense on each other. And that led to, the shooting that we saw in this game. Chet Holmgren, just 8 points in this game, 13 rebounds, though. Chet's another one, man. They're like 7'2". Man, bro, if you don't get more rebounds than sometimes for him the same way as Aaron Gordon. It's like, bro, I can't get you to get 6 rebounds in the game, bro. Like, come on. I'd be rich if these dudes grab some boards. But Jalen Williams, just 10 points in this game, like I said, after having 30 in the last game. 2 of 13 shooting from the field, so he shot horribly. 3 rebounds, 5 assists. Isaiah Hartenstein, just 8 points in the game. Also, 14 rebounds for him, though. 3 assists. Shea shot 8 of 19 from the field, 25 points in the game. Shea did not have a great game by any stretch of the imagination. I think leading into the second half, I think At one point, they were saying like, yeah, it's a pretty pedestrian even for Shea Alexander, who has or Gilgis Alexander, who has just like 16 points in the game. So not a great game from him either. Ludor chipped in 6 points on 2 of 10 shooting. He shot 2 of 10 from three. So all of his shots were threes. No shot. No shocker there. Alex Caruso had a big game off the bench, man. Big game. I say 10 points because Alex's 10 came at very pivotal times in the game for them. He shot 2 of 5 from three. He had a couple big threes actually in the third quarter, I think, to start out. Maybe 8 of his 10 points came in the third quarter, like to start the third quarter, if I can remember correctly. So a great, I'll say, impact on the game. Alex Caruso had some defensive steals, and his just defensive presence was necessary in pivotal moments as well and critical. So great game from Alex Caruso. Wiggins chipped in 11 points off the bench, and so did Casey Wallace. So yeah, again, not a lights out shooting game for either team. It was an entertaining game to watch. I'm not disappointed in the game that I watched. And again, a now 2-2 series tie. I'm headed into game 5, which I believe is on Tuesday night. 2-2 tie in this series, man. Incredible. Oh boy, this Indiana Cleveland series. Last I left off, the Indiana Pacers had stolen the first 2 games of this series from the Cleveland Cavaliers. And they had done so in dramatic like comeback fashion. Both games, Donovan Mitchell was doing his everything to keep his team alive in those games and to try to pull out victories. But for whatever reason, the basketball guys do this to teams every single year, man. You just see injuries start to rear their heads, and it just comes at the most inopportune times, more often than not. Donovan Mitchell would miss 4 games, the last 4 games of the regular season, conceivably to rest an ankle. But in the first game of this series, there was no Darius Garland. Second game of this, which the Cleveland Cavaliers would lose that game, and I was like, oh yeah, Darius Garland didn't play. No, it's okay. Like, that's to be expected. Hopefully Darius plays in the second game. Second game, Darius didn't play either. Not only did Darius Garland not play in that second game, but neither did Evan Mobley, neither did DeAndre Hunter. So they were missing 3 of their key players, 2 starters, and a good reserve in DeAndre Hunter in game 2. So they're going to lose that game as well. Donovan Mitchell almost had 50, or did have 50 in that game, or nearly 50. Game 3, first game in Indiana, which took place on Friday night, you'd see, Cleveland come back. Great game. Everybody had everybody in the lineup, including Darius Garland. The whole team was back. And naturally, I'm like, okay, cool. There you go. That's the Cleveland that I'm used to seeing. 126-104. They take game 3 on Friday night. And I was like, all right, cool. Now, now we can see a real series. And so I expected a much better game on Sunday. And man, Indiana came on game 4 and beat the fucking brakes off of this Cleveland team. That 129-109 score is not indicative of what an actual ass whooping looks like, because they were beating these boys by 40 plus. You know what I mean? Like, it was crazy, man. They were up by like 43 at one point, that I can remember exactly. And I stopped watching and started doing some stuff around the house, man. I started working on graphics for this episode because I was like, this shit's over. I just kept listening to the game in the background while I was working. But yeah, man, it was all Indiana from the jump ball. They just jumped all over these people and took a commanding 3-2-1 series lead. I will note that in this game, Donovan Mitchell would not even come out after halftime, suffering an ankle injury of some kind, so maybe still lingering from the regular season up to present, or maybe because the load has been so heavy, man, he's been trying to carry the team on his own. But let's get into these stats. First of all, Indiana will put up 129 points in this game, 129 on 52.7% shooting from the field, 129 points on 57.2% shooting from the field, 129 points on 52.7% 0.7% shooting from the field. They knocking 49 of 93. They were on fucking fire, bro. And what makes it so crazy is that, at some point, they cleared the bench and started bringing in the reserve. So to still be shooting, or to finish the game, rather, still, at 53%, essentially, man, it's crazy work. And those boys they couldn't miss. It's like the magnet ball was on for sure, man. Everything they was putting up damn near went in. It was crazy. When it rains, it pours. You know what I'm saying? They would shoot 42.9% from three, so 43% from three, knocking in 15 of 35 threes. At halftime, I think they actually shot worse in the second half than that stands, or based on the stat that I'm looking at now, because I remember texting to my buddies in the group chat that they shot 12 of 18 from three in the first half. It's like 12 of 18 is crazy. 12 of 18 from three is crazy. They only missed 6 threes. And so they missed 14 threes. They go 3 for 14 in the second half. So they shot worse in the second half, which stands to reason. But I'm just saying, like, man, 21 points in the game from Pascal Siakam, 9 of 10 shooting from the field, 2 of 2 from three, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. He was unconscious. Aaron Nesmith, 12 points in the game, 4 of 8 shooting from the field, 1 rebound, 1 assist. Or I'm sorry, 1 rebound, 4 assists on 2 of 4 from three. 20 points in the game from Miles Turner. Talking about Miles Turner a couple games ago or episodes ago, and I'm just like, I expected so much more from him. Tonight he definitely had it going. 20 points in the game, on 7 of 13 shooting from the field, except that 4 of those 7 shots that he made were from three. You know what I mean? And so it's the same thing. Like if these threes don't fall, then you know what I mean. That's 12 less points that he has in the game. He only has 8 points, and I don't like that. I want to see him work because he's skilled enough to score, not just from the outside and whatever. They're playing the game the way they're playing it, and it is what it is. But 7 rebounds in the game, 3 assists for him too. He's not one of those folks who's a disappointment as a rebound. I'm like, damn, bro, can you get more rebounds than sometimes you can't even rely on him to get 4. It's crazy. But Andrew Nembhard, just 7 points in the game. He definitely had some really good defensive efforts out there and did a whole lot for the team. 7 assists to go along with the 7 points, 3 rebounds, 11 points in the game for Halliburton. 11 points, just 5 rebounds, just 5 assists. But his impact was much heavier on the team, or much heavier and much more impactful. He he just started, chirping a lot and doing a lot of the annoying, kind of things on the court to get into Max Strus's head and get, Max to commit stupid ass fouls and stuff like that. So Halliburton's impact was was beyond just the stat sheet in this game. Obi Toppin, as my homie P said in text, like Obi Toppin looking real all-starish out here. And I was like, yeah, in this game. Now shout out to Obi Toppin because he has been playing solid, but not like tonight. 20 points off the bench on 9 of 14 shooting from the field, 1 of 4 from three, 5 rebounds, 2 assists for Obi. 13 points on the board for TJ McConnell. Man, I love TJ McConnell, man. TJ McConnell, I just love his high release. I love you know what I mean? Like, I just love that high release for him. And once I see him kind of, get into his mode, I can always tell if he's about to fire it up. And yeah, I'm a fan of TJ McConnell. 5 of 9 shooting from the field for him. 2 rebounds, 8 assists as well for TJ with that 13 points. And Shepard chipped in 14 points off the bench. So everybody was like kind of just getting a lick today. 5 of 10 shooting from the field, 2 of 6 from three, 3 rebounds in his stat holster as well. So yeah, man, just not much more I can say about that game aside from Indiana just came out and they had it clicking, and they as I said in group text to my buddies, man, they came out and executed the game plan that they drew up, and they jumped all over the Cavs, and the Cavs just weren't ready. You know what I mean? Like it is what it is. But the Cavs statistics here, 109 points in the game. Like I said, Donovan Mitchell will leave the game, but 109 points in the game total for them on 42.9% shooting from the field. Looks a whole lot better than it actually was from a standpoint of the final score. 40% from three looks a whole lot better than it actually was. You know what I mean? Like based on what was happening through the first half and through the third quarter. The reserves actually came in and played pretty solid to help make the score respectable, to be honest. But yeah, man, this was just not a good game. I'm not even going to dig like much deeper into the stats. They shot 30 of 70 overall from the field, 14 of 35 from three, which is what I said. Like it actually got a whole lot better. So their 3-point percentage improved in the second half, whereas Indiana's came down some. You know what I mean? I guess that's like the whole thing with balance. But yeah, man, 21 points ultimately in the game for Darius Garland, who saw himself get into some foul trouble early. So I will highlight his output. But yeah, the foul trouble early, man. The rest of Carlin is really tight because Ben Mathurin and DeAndre Hunter kind of got into it. They've been going back and forth a bit. You know what I mean? Like getting under each other's skin throughout this entire series so far, and boiled to a head in this particular game. So we saw it get a little chippy with them, and Benny would actually get ejected in the game. But yeah, aside from that, man, like I said, it was a poor showing today. I feel like from Evan Mobley, and maybe his fault, maybe not his fault. Maybe Kenny Atkinson more than Evan Mobley himself. You know what I mean? Like I just feel like 10 points is not enough. Only 7 shots in the game for him as well. Like they definitely need to put more of an emphasis on having more of an input from Evan Mobley. Of course, Jared Allen only took 1 shot in this game, in 20 minutes as well, and only had 2 rebounds. So it's Jared Allen has been, whenever Mobley was out, obviously there was more emphasis on Jared Allen, even as a scorer. Like Jared Allen was carrying a heavier offensive load, and so obviously when Evan Mobley comes back, for me, I watch a lot of Cleveland basketball as much as anybody else watched this year who doesn't live in Ohio, just from the games that were televised. And I expected Evan Mobley to give more. I didn't expect as much of an offensive output from Jared Allen in those games that Evan Mobley didn't play. So certainly when just thinking like you put Jared or you put Evan back in the lineup, you know what I mean? Like the offensive load for Jared will go down a bit, and Evans will, you know what I mean? Like naturally, because Evans back and Evans will go up, but it not today, not today. But yeah, man, just just an ungood game. 11 points in the game for Max Strus, who he shot 4 of 9 from the field, 3 of 7 from three. But like I said, just kind of, I don't know, man, just an off game overall for this team, and I would have liked to see a much better showing from the team overall than what I mean, this ass kicking that they got today. But today was Indiana's day, man. Like I said, Indiana is now, or takes into the Tuesday matchup in Cleveland, a 3-1 lead. Not sure if Donovan Mitchell is going to be able to return for that game or to suit up and play in that game. And even if he does, I'm not really sure that I'm not even really sure that Cleveland has an answer for Indiana, not with their pace of play, and especially not the way that they played today, taking the ball away from the guards, like by picking up 3/4 court and then trapping, or 94 feet and then trapping at half court to get the ball out of their hands. They just seem really rattled. They were trapping in the corners, crossing half court as well, or trapping on the sidelines rather, and kind of using that mid court line, sideline against the guards. Like Garland looked a lot rattled. They would turn the ball over like shit. Man, it was crazy, man. It was almost like they weren't ready for a basketball game today. You know what I mean? Indiana certainly brought them a basketball game. So that has been the basis of this particular episode. I am looking forward to the games that kick off, leading us into this week of NBA basketball, finishing out the second round. So we'll see what happens, moving forward. If you're as excited as I am, leave a comment and comment your opinion down below. Like the video if you haven't done so already. As I stated, subscribe to the channel as well. Definitely look forward to kicking it with you guys in the next episode. Until then, take care of yourselves. Blessings.